In this video, we're going to look at area and perimeter of rectangles. So first, let's remind ourselves of what area and perimeter are. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. So for a rectangle, we would add the four sides together. Or in other words, we would take the length plus the width plus the length plus the width. Or we could write that as 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. The area of a shape is the space inside a shape. So for a rectangle, we find the area by multiplying the length times the width. Now looking at these rectangles, one thing that you might remember is that when you have a rectangle, the opposite sides are always the same. So if this side is 8, the side across from it must also be 8. And if this side is 2, the side across from it must also be 2. And so I can label the two missing sides of the shape and then calculate the area and perimeter. So for rectangle A, we would find a perimeter of 2 plus 8 plus 2 plus 8, which is 10 plus 10, which is 20. The area would be 2 times 8, which is 16. For rectangle B, the perimeter is 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 6. Or we can do 2 times 4 plus 2 times 6, however you want to calculate it. Either way, you would get 20. And the area would be 4 times 6, which is 24. And for rectangle C, the perimeter is 1 plus 9 plus 1 plus 9. Also 10 plus 10, which is also 20. And the area is 1 times 9, which is 9. So the first question is which rectangle has the greatest perimeter? This is a little bit of a trick question because we found that they all have a perimeter of 20. So they all have the same perimeter. Question 2 says which rectangle has the greatest area. If we look at the areas that we calculated, we see that rectangle B has the greatest area. And as the rectangles get more stretched out, the area becomes smaller. So A has a smaller area than B, and then C has the smallest area because it's the most stretched out. The ones that are most similar to a square shape would have the largest area. Question C says to find a rectangle with the same perimeter as rectangle C that has an even greater area. So we know here that we want our perimeter to be 20 because that's the perimeter of rectangle C and all the rectangles. Now if we look at these pairs of numbers for the length and width, we see that they all add to 10. 2 plus 8, 4 plus 6, and 1 plus 9 is always going to equal 10. So when we want to find something with a perimeter of 20, we look for the length and width to add to 10. Because we know that the other sides, the other length and width, would also add to 10, and so that would add to 20. So whatever perimeter we're looking for, if we take half of that, we're looking for two numbers that add to half of the perimeter. So another pair of numbers that would add to 10 would be 3 and 7. So if I have a rectangle that has sides of 3 and 7, length and width of 3 and 7, then I know that the area would be 21. and so that would have a greater area than rectangle C. Another possibility would be a rectangle with sides of 5 and 5. Now you would probably call this a square, but you might remember from geometry class that a square is also a rectangle. So that could be considered a rectangle with the same perimeter as rectangle C, because the perimeter here would be 20. And the area of this one would be 25, which is greater than 9. So this one would also qualify.